What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another Fridge Financials video. In today's video, we're breaking down a new update that Robinhood is going to be pushing out into the future, focusing more specifically on the blockchain and crypto. So if you're excited for today's video, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, turn on those bell notifications for all future uploads. We have a lot to break down here, and it's following up also, just like we released the video earlier about how mortgage rates can be useful if you have Robinhood Gold. They're now also launching blockchain stock tokens. And what does this mean? So Robinhood Markets has introduced blockchain-based stock tokens, a development that analysts believe could divert trading volume and fee revenue from the New York Stock Exchange. On June 30th, Robinhood launched tokens for over 200 U.S. stocks and ETFs for its European customers, including shares of prominent companies like NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft. These commission-free tokens are currently tradable nearly around the clock, 5 days a week, with plans to hopefully be 24/7 once their Robinhood chain goes live. This is a huge announcement that Robinhood came out with and announced. They went through a whole breakdown of everything, which is absolutely amazing, and this could be a really big game changer overall. At a recent event, Robinhood CEOs Vlad Tenev detailed the company's plan. Robinhood has partnered with Arbitrum, I'm guessing, to issue tokens backed by one-to-one custodial shares at a U.S. broker-dealer. European users can buy or sell these tokens at the actual market price of the underlying stock, with trading beginning nearly 24/5 on Robinhood's platform. Basically, since you're looking at overseas, if you are someone who lives overseas in Europe or somewhere around that in the European area, the idea is that you may not have access to the New York Stock Exchange, right? Just like if you wanted to buy S&P 500 ETFs, we have SPY ETF here, but in other countries, they have different ETFs that go with it as a result. Very similar idea here, but where you maybe don't have access to Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA stocks right away, as those are traded on the New York Stock Exchange, which are American-based companies. Tokenization basically allows you to have investments in them through the blockchain. Basically, they take the shares that the company will own, so that's backed by one-to-one custodial shares, and that's a very important thing to remember, is that being backed by one-to-one shares at the broker-dealer itself. So basically meaning that Robinhood will hold the shares, and then they will buy the shares. So say they buy, 1 million shares of NVIDIA at market price, they'll split it up, and they'll make tokens off of it as a result, digitally, it's not physical, and then they'll give out tokens, they'll sell tokens out to people who would want to have partial ownership. It's like fractional shares, but with tokens instead. Very cool, and it allows people to have access to more stocks. Then it started to bring up this idea of having companies that are private equity investment ones that this could lead into as well. So there's another article here that talks about how OpenAI, which is a private company right now, which is the big user base, the big platform behind AI in general, with ChatGPT and everything else, says that Robinhood's tokens aren't equity in the company here. So we're going to talk about this article as well here, because it's a big opportunity for investing in the markets that Robinhood is doing. They're going leaps and bounds here to push to the next level. Now, there's a lot of regulation and paperwork, I'm sure, and all these different things that have to be drawn before this part happens here. But being able to have tokenized shares could be the future of the stock market, of investing, everything in general. So OpenAI is distancing itself from Robinhood's latest crypto push after the trading platform began offering tokenized shares of OpenAI and SpaceX to users in Europe. So OpenAI, again, with Sam Altman and everything else, that is a private company right now, okay? SpaceX, same thing, private company right now. We cannot buy into them unless you are an accredited investor. If you ever want to get invested into private equity, you need to be usually an accredited investor. What does that mean? Well, according to the SEC, these are the requirements that you need. You need a net worth of over $1 million. Fridge Financials does not have that. You need an income of over $200,000. Don't have it. Investment professionals in good standing holding the general securities representative license, all these different things here. How can entities qualify as accredited? So there's a lot of requirements that you need in order to be an accredited investor. And this is right off of the SEC website right here. And the idea behind it is that the tokenization from Robinhood would allow us to invest into companies like OpenAI, SpaceX, all the ones that are private equity, because a lot of money can be made in private equity without having to be jumping through all these hoops and hurdles and everything else to get there, right? You don't need the $1 million net worth to invest in OpenAI potentially, right? But that was kind of what Vlad was talking about at this conference, at this kind of, show that he had on, that he was talking about for tokenization here. And OpenAI comes back and says, these tokens are not OpenAI equity. We did not partner with Robinhood. We're not involved in this and do not endorse it. So it's like, okay. The company said that any transfer of OpenAI equity requires our approval. We do not approve of this, so please be careful. Robinhood announced the launch Monday from Cannes, France, as part of the broader product showcase focused on tokenized equities, staking, and a new blockchain infrastructure play. The company stock surged to about $100 until it started coming back down, obviously. These tokens give retail investors indirect exposure to private markets, opening up access and are enabled by Robinhood's ownership stake in a special purpose vehicle. Robinhood offers 5 years. So here's the, and we obviously can't access right now because of regulatory restrictions. They're going to be working on that hopefully as we go through more and more. So here's the thing, right? What would have to happen is that, Robinhood would have to go over to OpenAI and say, hey, I want to buy up equity position in OpenAI here with whatever the valuation is at. You'll pay top dollar for it. And then they'll take their ownership worth and split it up and kind of go from there. OpenAI says that we didn't partner with them just yet. Doesn't mean they won't do it in the future. Maybe they will do in the future. Who knows, right? But that's kind of what the idea is talking about here, which is a huge game changer to be able to get private equity investments. A lot of people say, oh, investing in private equity is the best thing because, again, you get in at early stages. Imagine if OpenAI goes public and it IPOs on the public markets, and it, 5, 10Xs, you got in before the IPO even happens. Like, you're getting very early stage investment exposure to these big potential companies like SpaceX, OpenAI. I think, believe it or not, I think Epic Games is one of them that's a private equity right now. That's a possible investment you can make into. So very, very cool. Now, Robinhood is doing this because what they do is they are making a lot of money through people using their platforms. Okay. And believe it or not, I was watching, a YouTuber. I was watching Meet Kevin. He was streaming the Fox Business News, I believe, at one point. And it was like the day of or the day after that Robinhood announces the tokenization that Republic, which is another investment company, it's an app, also offered tokenization to SpaceX and other unicorn tracker security tokens. But here's the difference, and it's very interesting. So crowdfunding platform Republic announces plans to offer mirror tokens. That's different. It's not the tokens that Vlad is talking about where they own the shares and they split the shares up into digitalized tokens. That's not what he's doing here. Mirror tokens are different, okay? And we're going to read into this a little bit. So you can get into SpaceX and Anthropic's another one. They'll be available to retail investors, again, getting that investment there. Even including the US for as little as $50. And then they're backed by Morgan Stanley, which is pretty good at least, right? The offering targets small investors seeking access to high growth startups, typically reserved for institutions and wealthy individuals. Talking about those accredited investors. But the difference that we talk about here, I believe, is written, it was right. I gotta find it here somewhere. Republic emphasizes tokens of SpaceX. Oh, right here. Republic emphasizes that tokens like our SpaceX, which I'm guessing is like the token name for it, are not issued by SpaceX and do not represent company equity. Instead, they are loan notes issued by Republic X with uncertain repayment dates. Token holders can redeem their investments if the underlying company goes public or gets acquired and will receive accumulated dividends. So what you'll see the difference is with Republic doing this compared to Robinhood is that these are loan notes that they don't have an equity position as a hedge to pay back this off. So Robinhood says, hey, we have the custodial shares for Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, for example. Not the, and again, the private equity versions, I'm sure they have to figure out the details of that one, I'm sure, over time. But Republic doesn't have it backed by shares. They're loan notes. Basically just saying like, hey, just trust me that we're good for this. So Republic is, and then they're saying, oh, you could sell on the secondary market and everything else from there. And like, oh, we could do in the US though. It's like, okay, sure. That's okay here. But here's the thing that they talk about. They talk about how they make their money here through the trading fees. And I'll break down how the trading fees basically work. And the idea behind trading fees and how they work is through what's called market makers. And this is just one example of a market maker and how they do it. So say you have somebody who wants to buy an option at 120, someone wants to sell it at 160. Well, what they do here, again, is they buy it from the market maker is the middleman. They're the ones who connect the buyer and the seller together, right? That's what a market maker does. They take the buyer to the seller and they make the connection between those two individuals. And if you ever look at the stock market, you have a bid and an ask, right? The bid and the ask is there, and the bigger the spread, the more of a fee there is to be built into it. If you look at just trading shares, shares are pretty liquid. It might be like a 1 cent difference or a 5 cent difference, but that's no big deal. Some of these could be 40 cents, 100, a dollar, whatever the case is. And it's all based on liquidity. So a market maker, basically, they are the ones who are connecting it. So they basically buy it from her Jane for $1.20. They sell it to Joe for $1.60, and the spread, the difference, is what they keep as a profit. And then what happens is that since Robinhood has market makers, Republic maybe has something similar to that. I'm guessing I haven't used Republic, but Robinhood might get, maybe 10% of the fees from the market maker. So if they make 40 cents here, per transaction, think about it, they're doing millions of transactions every single day. Say Robinhood gets 10 cents out of the 40 cents here. The market maker still makes 30 cents on it, or whatever the fee is, the rebate they have, the negotiation that Robinhood has with the market makers. They take that money, and Robinhood makes money as long as there's transactions. Doesn't matter what they're buying and selling, they're making money as a result. Republic says, oh, we can do the same thing. We'll make money on our secondary market. But here's the big difference here. Remember, you need liquidity to have these bid and these ask be very, very small. If you have one buyer and one asker, and the one buyer is $1 and the one asker is like $11, you're looking at a huge spread here in the price. And so they'll make a lot of money, but then also, again, like, I wouldn't want to sell on that because I might get lowballed. If I'm buying for 11, I only want to buy it at 11, and it buys at like 6, or sorry, if I want to be the one that's selling it at 11 and it gets filled at like 6, I'm out $5 already. So you want to have the bid ask be very, very small, and you need a lot of liquidity, a lot of volume, a lot of people buying and selling on this platform, which Robinhood has. And here's the big difference. Robinhood recorded that 14.4 million monthly active users in the first quarter of 2025. 14.4 million active users the first quarter of 2025. That's before they announced the new mortgage. That's the new mortgage deal for Robinhood Gold. That's before they just announced the tokenization part. Like, they keep announcing all these better and better things to bring more and more users. The more users they have that are swiping, the more money they're making from the fees and from the rebates from the market makers. Republic has over only 3 million users. Robinhood has almost 5 times the amount of users as Republic. This says over 3 million users. I don't know if they're active. I don't know what it is, but it includes investors, founders, and partners who engage with the platform's investment opportunities. A lot smaller of a company. So their secondary market, if you were to go with them and to do this tokenization, to buy SpaceX or to buy OpenAI, which again isn't backed by equity in the company. It says it right here. Republic emphasizes the tokens are not issued and do not represent company equity. Robinhood's does have it when they buy the shares and they own the shares. They have it as being able to have access to the company and an equity position. If you go onto the secondary market of Republic, you might lose money because there's not a lot of liquidity compared to Robinhood. And also, again, theirs are not backed by equity position. Robinhood's will be. So it's very interesting. Robinhood announcing the blockchain tokenization, I think, has a lot of potential. And I will say with utmost certainty, there's probably so much legality and paperwork and contracts and so many things and regulation that they will have to go through to get it approved in the US. But if they are able to take private equity companies and have security and have shares that back this up here of the underlying token and gives exposure to the public for private equity, that is going to be a huge game changer, and Robinhood is going to make a lot of money. So if you made this part of the video, feel free, again, thank you guys so much, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on those bell notifications, as always, for this amazing content you're getting free of charge every single day. But yeah, so Robinhood is looking at tokenizing to companies and to be able to give everybody more exposure to public companies and potentially private ones as well. And if you see people talk about Republic, I would be skeptical because there's no backing of equity. It's a loan note with uncertain repayment dates. That doesn't vibe. It just seems to me like a trust me bro kind of thing here. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. We hope you're making money in the market in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through Robinhood blockchain in the future or through investing into private equities like OpenAI and SpaceX. Who really knows, obviously. And as always, we will see you guys in the next video.